Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Kollective Konversations. I'm Cynthia Beard, and I'm so glad you chose to spend part of your day with us. This space is about connection, a chance to talk openly and learn from one another. Today, we are joined by Miss Barbra L. Charles, former president of Raleigh County NAACP, current first vice president of West Virginia's chapter of the NAACP, president of Antonio Avenue Community Project. Her commitment to the service has inspired the summit to create Barbra L. Charles Legacy of Service Award. She was our very first recipient of this award. We also want to recognize the other voices that are here with us today. We have Miss Elena Hurley, West Virginia PRSS State Tri-Chair of West Virginia's Poor People's Campaign. We have Donald Burton, which is the Executive Director with the Summit Collective. And we have Pastor Elder McCrae of St. Luke Church of God in Christ here in Beckley. Thank you all for being here and contributing to today's conversation. So how are you today?
I'm just things are going on and in our community. And I'm glad to be here. I knew nothing. They did this to me. I want you to know. They did this to me. And they gave me that award too, and they didn't tell me. So I am just grateful to the Almighty God to be able to be here with you today. And I'm glad we're making this progress of communication in our community.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We're very honored to have you here. Because you got a hand in many community projects and much community service. So, yes.
Well, I'm just grateful that it did. I think 5 years ago, we started out on a campaign to recruit.
Yes, ma'am.
And here we sit today and look at the progress. I am just ecstatic.
Oh, we're ecstatic to have you here. What inspired you to even get into community service and being a community activist?
Dr. Martin Luther King.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
I marched with Dr. King, worked with Rosa Parks. When they came to Los Angeles during the Civil Rights Movement, I was just a child. We had youth groups.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother was an advocate out of Louisiana. She cashed in her insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking her, I was maybe about 6 or 7. And I did all my writing for my grandmother and everything. And I asked her, why was she cashing in her policy?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I'm sending money down to Dr. King to get some of the freedom riders out of jail. And I said, well, what are you going to do for insurance? She said, I pulled another insurance policy. I'm going to live a long time. She said, I'm sending this money to him so he can get our people out of jail, and then I'll live long enough, and then I'll get my own insurance.
Oh, that's fabulous.
So I started as an activist right then.
So that's like something that kind of runs in the family then.
All the way back.
All the way back.
All the way back.
So your mother was involved as well?
Everyone at our church. We were one of the... At that time, there weren't many churches in California, African-American churches, and Paradise Missionary Baptist Church was the first church. I was baptized by Reverend Iverson then, and we were connected with some of the pastors across the country. Some people may know Dr. Franklin, and they would come from east was much more than it was in the west.
Right.
So most of the eastern pastors would come to California, and that was during the time that the civil rights was beginning, and I was a great part of that even as a child.
Okay, well, when were you born, if you don't mind me asking?
When,
you don't look a day over about 45, but...
No, I'm 39. I ain't leaving there.
You said 39.
I mean, big party to go. I ain't leaving 39. I ain't even got to my 40s. No, you start that.
Excuse me.
No, I don't give that up nowhere. No, so we just, we are as old as God is making us.
Right. You're as old as you feel.
Yeah, you are.
And how old do you feel, ma'am?
Oh, I'm 39.
39. So you weren't born here. You were born, you said, in Washington?
Seattle, Washington.
Seattle,
Washington. Yes, that's where I came from. But I was, just a child when I left there.
Mm-hmm.
And the height of the civil rights, a lot of people feel that the civil rights movement was basically in the South because all of the killing and lynchings was coming out of the South.
Right.
But if you know anything about the civil rights movement, you know that the civil rights bills of 64 and 65
Mm-hmm.
came out of California, such as the Rumford Act. That was all fair housing.
Right.
All in most of your laws, most discriminating pay was California.
Right. That
So
set the
many of
standard
your-
for these laws.
For those acts that came out, because you couldn't sell, buy, or rent housing if you were of color,
Mm-hmm.
any color,
Right.
you know.
Mhm.
And the Rumford Act was tested on the men coming back from war at that particular time, and they had the GI Bill. And the Rumford Act, which came out of that, was that you could write in your deed, I don't sell to black, I don't sell to
Right.
Mexicans, and LBGQ wasn't even talked about then, so
Right.
it wasn't even on the list.
Right.
But Mr. Rumford sued and went all the way to the Supreme Court, and that's where that bill came out of it. EEOC came out of California because it was more, they don't hire you on no job. You know. All those bills of the 64 Act came out of California, while in the South, there was a difference,
Right.
the civil rights. So those things were happening.
Were you in Watts? Oh, excuse me.
Was I in Watts?
Watts when the Watts riots
No,
occurred?
that's the beginning of my book.
Oh.
In 1964, Watts riot. When my book comes out, it describes the night that happened in California.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was working as a waitress, working my way up to where I needed to go to get my high school diploma so then I could go on to college and get my degree.
Right.
But the night that happened, yes, I was right there in the middle of the Watts riots, which was profound even to this day when you say Watts riot.
Right.
I was in the restaurant working and a man came in and he had a 45 and I just knew he was going to rob the place.
Mm-hmm.
And when he walked in the door, my feet got nailed to the ground and I couldn't move.
Right.
And he came over and he threw the gun on the counter and he said, "Sister, welcome to the revolution and here's your gun," and turned around and walked away. I know what that man was talking about. I was so petrified until I knew what that man was talking about. But they had started the Watts riot because of the community had gotten tired of the brutality of the police. But there was a lot behind the riot.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll talk about that another day.
Well, I like to say, we are so happy to have you here. I mean, I know you are walking knowledge, and you look so beautiful with your hair all arrayed up and so sparkly. And I just want to hear you tell us again about the story with you and Dr. Martin Luther King. I mean, I'm always fascinated just to hear that part. Could you tell us a little bit about that part?
Well, basically, by the time I got to be a teenager, I was militant.
Mm-hmm.
I worked along with the Black Panthers within the community. He taught me so many different things, but actually the Black Panthers was guarding our community.
Mm-hmm.
Protecting, yes.
Yeah, they were guarding our community. Had the Panthers lived and they not assassinated them, we would have never had the drugs in the community.
Absolutely.
But I was a part of them. I think if I'd have got, well, maybe I don't want to tell you this on TV, but, well, I guess it's too late now. I'm only 39. But anyway, we had guns. We were ready for the shooting revolution.
Right.
And we were stockpiling guns. Civilians Liberation Army was in our community. Many heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew they were bombed about 4 blocks from me where we were. Then we had the Muslims that had come in and worked along with us. And Dr. King came to Wrigley Fields. That day, Dr. King's message, "A knock at midnight," took the gun out of my hand. I had a gun everywhere. I could shoot.
Was you trained to shoot by the Black Panther Party? Or was that something that you learned somewhere else?
Oh, no, I learned it through all of the militants that were from them. The Civilians, the Liberation Army was already ready, and we were in place to get busy.
Because they wanted you properly trained.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But through the Panthers, I learned how to lay out newspaper. I learned so many of the skills that I'll use later on. My training came from the Panthers. They walked my children to school. They gave them lunch. They had the first lunch program.
The WIC program that was also created by the Black Panthers. Yes. There are a lot of people, don't realize and don't know that today. That came from them.
Okay, even the school program
to feed them, to feed lunch.
Feed lunch. Yeah, all of them came out of Watts. Yeah, sure did. And so we, Dr. King took that gun out of my hand, because I was a Christian anyway. I was born and raised in the faith, but I also believe, because I was reading about David and all them wars too.
Right.
So we were playing. It was about time. But God then began to work in my life, and then I knew that it was through the spirit of what we were going to do, not the gun and not the other militants and violence that we were going to do, not knowing I was going to be part of 1964, right?
Right.
That's good. First and foremost, I just want to say, my condolences to you for your loss. So my condolences for your loss, and to actually be up here, just to come here, to speak to us. But that's you, though. I mean, that's why I said when I met you, like I said, for always, fireball, always willing to do, for the community. And that's why I said when we were talking, me and Adrian was talking about some things and just figuring out, what was going on. But people like you, it's one thing, they're one of a kind. You don't find people like you that will, do everything and anything for the community, And then my sense, when I was growing up, I seen a few, but, it's not, you don't see them a lot anymore. So that was why it kind of fueled me to want to do this. And that's why I said about the, the Legacy Award, the Legacy Award, because like I said, just to see, really, because then they get to know your story, because you only got an hour today, right?
Yes.
But it's way more, as you can see. At 39, look at all the stuff you
Oh,
did. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of, but I've heard more things than these, things, and it's just, but it's always the passion still there, even now, even in the wake of, like I said, what you're going through with, with the passing, of your son. But I tell you, I appreciate you, and I thank you for coming up here as well, because you didn't really know what was going on here as well. But God kind of made this, because actually I didn't want to bother you with it because of what you were going through, but something actually, somebody actually fell through, so it kind of, God made a way for you to be up here.
Yes.
And I'm glad of that, like I said before. And like I said, today we're just going to kind of honor you. Let you speak and tell your stories and maybe ask a few questions of that, because I'm like a little kid in here just trying to figure out, what, kind of knowledge. Because you only get it, one more thing, you only get it, every so often, and sometimes you got to be ready to listen to your elders who have been through things to make a way. So I
understand it today because a very good friend of mine, actress Marla Gibbs, was a partner of mine and partner in everything with mine in South Central LA. She brought Rosa Parks up to me when I was in Palmdale, California. And I was just in awe of this woman. All I wanted to do was rub her feet.
All right.
I said, I don't want to do nothing else. I want her to take her shoes off and I'm rubbing her feet, because that woman stood there. And she sit down. I said, I'm so glad you got tired and you didn't get up.
That's right.
And she was my inspiration. So I've met people down through the years, such as Dr. King and others.
Right.
But Rosa Parks represented to me, she was tired of it. She said all I was just tired. And I wasn't going to do it. And it was just sitting there just talking with some of the people, my heroines and heroes out of the community. See, it's we keep piling them on. You don't think what you're doing here today is you're going to be the hero of so many. No, it's just, you're the heroes now. We're telling the stories, like you said, in 1964, Watts Riot. Everybody wants to know, and that's the opening of my book, is about what happened that night and what led up to it and what we went through in California. But now look what we're doing. Look where we are and where we come from. You're the one giving the awards. You're the one in place. And then somebody's going to come up to you and, I knew all about you and I heard about. See, it's not about all of that. We are here. All of us are part of the greatest time of our life. We're looking at this, and I do want to tell people just right now, so they want to stop looking at Trump. Stop looking at him. Okay, where's your plan? Okay, and I'm through with that.
Because we need a plan.
Right.
We need a plan. So I get exactly what I'm saying.
Come on.
But that's anyone.
I just had to throw that in there, right?
That's anyone. That's anyone. Like I said before. That's the thing. You have to have a plan. I have a business, and that's the motto of it. dream big. You can dream big, right?
Yes.
But you have to plan carefully. It says it in the Bible. You have to plan carefully as well. I mean, so that's one of the things that we need. That's of course why we do this as well, so we can plan that way.
Yes.
I mean, and have those things put in place, and it starts with you.
It
starts with you. So that's a good
But I remember the riot. I was a little kid though.
Okay.
But I remember, how I was living in New York at the time.
Okay.
In the South Bronx. And that riot affected the Bronx. It affected the area where I lived in the Bronx, because the people were in an uproar. They just couldn't take it anymore. They wanted to know, how are we going to be able to push our way out of this? So your impact today is helping us to push ourselves up higher.
Yes. Well, it was on Imperial Highway in Los Angeles. The community had totally went silent. Mm-hmm. And many people didn't understand that the police force, which has always been the head of the thing of brutality within our community, had got outrageous in South Central LA. Mm-hmm. And during that time, the police chief went to the South and hired all Southern officers and hired them into California. And they were brutal. Mm-hmm. And the community had gotten tired of it. And so, definitely when the music was going out, when we failed to go to a nightclub and partying, the city had just closed down. I know it was so quiet in the community. People wasn't going nowhere. There wasn't no dancing going on. There wasn't no singing going on. And that particular night, a young man that my sister went to school with, wrong person, went to the wrong house, but they dragged the man out anyway. And then they brutalized the mother, and his sister was 9 months pregnant. They threw her on the car, and they had just got tired. It just blew up. You could feel the tension, like people are feeling tension now. We don't know what is going to occur with all of these new things that are happening, but we have learned through Dr. King the peaceful resolve. We have understood what it is. Donald said, what is your plan? What are you going to do? Okay, we're not going back to where we came from, because we're different people. Right. We know more what we knew then, but then we knew it was over. Those police had to be dealt with. Mm-hmm. And that night, it just was enough is enough. And it blew up, and it was that song, the song they put out, Burn, Baby, Burn. It was just on the radio, and they put that song on KG. I'll never forget it, KGF radio, Burn, Baby, Burn. And and that's what was going on that night. And they said, we're going to burn this mother down. That's the way they put it, and that's the way it was.
And just like, going back, but, going forward, though, the state of what we have now. As far as, being empowerment and trying to get things, that kind of in the community and get it back to being a community type of thing. What you were honored at, just like a picnic back to school that we had, but what you started to see when we were there, we had little kids there too, but we also had a lot of older, people there as well that had been in the community as well. So it's good to see the balance, but it's always that balance of young and old, and to kind of bring them together as well. But we got that middle part, which would be me. Got that middle part, right, too, that need to kind of step up and do some things as well. If they feel that way. But that's what I'm saying. With you, having that fire, doing it, and then talking about it in the 60s. But now I ain't gonna do the math, because I might throw that 39 out the window. But it's 2025 now. So just saying that you say the 60, that might be better. I'm not the best at math, but those things, today, now we start, and we face different things, but we need to face them together, because I think a lot of it, what you see, even when I'll just mention, even when we was presenting the award to you, that it was a commotion. Well, in my mind, I know, that's a spiritual thing. Really, that's a spiritual thing. That's the battle we face. Yeah. I think, we have adversaries, in every community, black community, white community, whatever community it is, we're against each other, right? Sometimes. And I'm not saying racial, I'm just saying against each other, brother to brother, brother against Cain and Abel, that type of thing. But the bigger battle is the spiritual battle that we face.
Exactly.
And that's the one that, I know that, like I said, man, definitely a woman of Christ, and know, what I mean, and a child of God, that, what I mean, that this is what we're facing. And to see it, kind of transpire, probably tough, but still having that faith. That's what I like in you. I mean, I just see the faith and to see the God in you is what I like about it. That's one of the things.
Well, the award is just magnificent, and I just appreciate you for it. But there was a young woman that walked up to me with a Tupac shirt on, and she had tears in her eyes. And she hugged me and she said, "I'm just so glad to meet you." And I said, "And I'm so glad to meet you as well. And look at, you got Tupac." Well, my son is a gospel singer. He's a son that passed away. Well, he knew Tupac. I couldn't get that young lady away from me. We had something in common. She said, she knew Tupac. Right. And it was going on with me because of my son being a singer and being around the country. They were all in Watts there together, all of them. LL Cool J, he went to school with all, my kids came up with them. So it was like a connection right there at the park from this sister who had on the Tupac shirt, and all the other sisters were standing in the back, and I all came over. I said, I didn't say I knew Tupac. I said, but they want to know. The interest is there.
Absolutely.
And I've been around the country. I've been in the airport sitting and having to wait for hours and hours. And I always found that God would lead a youth group to come over. And before I know it, I'd be talking about something and talking about today, or I'd be talking about this. And before I know it, I have all the youth over there with me. That has been a gift that God has just allowed me to do. It is about our youth. I've been saying this for the longest. As you know, we established the youth chapter of the NAACP. Raleigh County NAACP right here in Beckley always had the largest youth group. And for some reason, it got away from us. And we just 2 weeks ago had the state convention. We got our licensing for our youth group. We now have the NAACP Raleigh County Youth back in force again. They got thanks to one of the ladies right outside there, Miss Adrian. Okay, they're there. So we got to get to them. Got to reach them. We got to reach them.
What's some of your plans?
Oh, we got plans. We got plans. We got some of the plans that we're reuniting, not just here, but across the country. And I think this woman sitting next to me can be talking on some of the things. This lady here, I'm going to tell you, she, I don't know about her. She took me to Washington, D.C. Okay, I'm there because I want to be a part with them and what they're doing with the Poor People's Campaign. Little did I know that was a setup too. She goes around and tell everybody my story and this and that, and they come into my room and they're doing this and they're doing that, and the whole thing. And next thing I know, people talk, you know rules of you. I said, wait a minute, I didn't come here for this here. I came here with Dr. King. I've been in Washington 5 times. I've spoken, even during the Clinton. I did the national agenda there with the Black Caucus. But all of that, I was just happy to be a part of 35,000 people. Going to here again, Dr. King is the one that put the Poor People's Campaign together about 2 months before he passed away.
I didn't know that.
Dr. King started
part of his mission.
That's
great. To not just for civil rights for blacks, but
that's great, though.
But the poverty issues that were affected.
Yes. And that was at the Washington, when they had the sit-in at the Washington. It was about 2 months before he passed that he established that before he did, WLCAC, because he was part of the NAACP, and it branched out. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, the other civil rights leaders that were doing the community at that time. And we had Operation Breadbasket going, which was dealing with the community out of there. So they were all impacted, but everybody came to California because it was right. Because they know that, we righted more than that. But it was more than that.
That was a tough
situation. But this lady here, she and the group of the Poor People's Campaign that went down there, I was their guest, And I was just honored in such a way. We were at the Washington Hilton Hotel, and food, and just, it was camaraderie. Well, that day, with one of the cases that we all litigated here together, the Burks cases, we know it. President Biden's brigade pulled up in their limos and picked them up. And so they asked me to go with them. I've been there 5 times, and I told them, this is not my day, this is y'all's day.
Right.
This is this lady's day. And they picked them up and took them all over. Go on and tell the story. Come on, I'm talking too much.
And before I do, I want, Lena Hurley, I want to, because some people don't know, but the summer's been around since 2021. And she'll remember this. We actually had a recovery. We had a recovery conference up there on Harper Road up there at Country in the Suites, and you were the host of it. If you remember that.
Yeah.
And so she's been around. I mean, and this, I don't want to make you upset, but a couple, I looked at it because it's on YouTube, right? And like 2 or 3 of the people have passed away that spoke that night. That kind of lost their battle. And I just look back and thinking of that day though, that they were clean that day. They were speaking, but it does hurt me because that's the thing, and I know you're still in it and involved heavily. I mean, and I think I commend you for that because it's tough. It made me. I don't know. It's just when you see somebody maybe not at their best, but better than they were before. I mean, I wish they could see themselves sometimes to see that. So I was just thinking, and I thank you for that, and thank you for being here today.
But before you go on, I'd like to say we appreciate both of y'all being here because y'all both have raised children. Your son, I want you to tell us a little bit about your son. Both of them were educated, growing up. How hard was it, at that time, to just raise children and keep them in school? Was it, difficult or?
Well, let me say the LA Unified School District, I can say this, I'll pull a suit against them for $25 million.
Mercy.
Because they took the kids rebelled against what was going on. The school system in LA was one of the worst school districts. Because LA was so big, and they wouldn't condense LA, we had 3 different areas. We had the Hispanic group, we had the African American community of Watts, and then we have a suburban community. And they started putting all the money in the suburban school to make them good. And then they were taking our kids out of the inner city areas that had A and B students only, could go to the suburban schools, so that being bused. That was their answer because they needed some of the grant money from the busing. In the South, busing was the major issue of integration. Integration was not the problem there because they had not fixed the schools in South Central LA since the 30s. Now you're going to build a suburban area with brand new schools and computers, but you don't have the students. You had 9 kids in a classroom versus inner city Los Angeles that had 65 kids in the classroom. And the toilets hadn't even been fixed for 30 years.
Tell us about it.
So when the school board came to present us that we're going to bus your kids, but they got to be an A and B student, but you're going to take the cream of the crop and take them out to the suburban area. Well, California was 65 miles for them, meaning you got to get your kid up at 5 in the morning to be on the bus at 6 so he can drive for 2 hours to the valley to come back and live in Watts. We wasn't having it. And so one of the spokesperson from the radio station here again, Stevie Wonder and KJLH and all of them, and we got up there to speak, and like this one woman gonna tell me on the board, well, if you don't do what we say, this is a mandate. This is a mandate that you're gonna send your child to this school. I said, well, where was you at when I was mandating them diapers? Where was you at when I was mandating that food and them getting up in the middle of the night? You ain't gonna mandate me nothing. And the day you mandate that to me is the day I'm gonna be sitting down in Silver Brand with Silver Brand's jail, because we are not going to allow you to take our kids out of the school and dictate to us who you gonna take. And for every so many children, you gonna take one teacher out there with them. from our school when she's already over. Now we ain't having it, but they weren't gonna have me. So I pulled the $25 million suit against them. So that's part of some of the thing. I made the news, well, the LA Times, I think 7 days in a row, I made the front page on that suit. As a matter of fact, my attorney that was sitting next to me, because we had never talked about what we were going to sue him from, and we pulled a press conference, and he's sitting next to me, and because he hit my knee, because I was so mad, and he hit my knee every time I turned around, and they said, how much you going to sue him for? And I don't know where that $25 million came from, but I had $25 million, all that hit the airway. Mother gonna sue, kidnapping the kids' grades. I don't even remember what. But these are the kind of things we were fighting against. We fought back. And so they made it could not be mandatory, that it had to be voluntary. And so we did get what we needed, but still, they integrated the schools in the valley with our children because people would feel.
So y'all forced them to compromise.
They compromised.
So, okay.
Right. But when you have a child that's in your family and they're an A student and they can go out into the valley, but you have a D child in your house, look, it separated the house. Because now he can go, and they couldn't even graduate with the school they were going to in the valley. They could not graduate with the class. They had to come back in the city and graduate at their school. So we had to stop that too.
Right.
So I wasn't very popular with LA Unified School.
So what about Elena, going back to the Poor People's Campaign, what would you want to say about those things?
Well, first I want to thank you all for having us here. It truly is an honor and a blessing. I can sit here and listen to this all day. There's a saying that you have to listen to learn and learn to listen.
Yes, ma'am.
And so she has been my mother, my mentor, spiritual advisor, best friend, and I learn a lot. And it's by no coincidence that God paired us together.
Right.
She always has told me that God replaced me in place of her daughter, who she lost some years ago, because of our similarities. And we meshed so well together because of our similarities. I grew up in a civil rights movement family.
Okay.
My father is from Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Where
I didn't know that.
Right in the heart of it.
Right in the heart of it. Dr. Martin Luther King sat quite a few dinners at my grandmother's table.
Wow.
I grew up hearing and listening as a child what was going on. So my dad was severely subjected to the racism and the violence that was going on back then. And it just behooves me because the same thing that was going on then, and this is before I was born, is going on now.
Right.
It's just under a different guise.
Right. Yeah.
So back then, when my dad and my uncle, they were just walking, the streets of Birmingham on an afternoon as young teenagers, and they were abducted by the Birmingham police. They were put into the back of a cruiser and they drove them around for hours, and taunting them, and they thought they were going to kill them. They thought they were going to kill them, and drove them around for hours, threatening to lynch them and to kill them. And so I actually grew up in the north, in Cleveland, Ohio. But Dad felt that I needed to be exposed to my southern roots. He said, you'll go down there and be with your grandmother half of the year, and that's where you'll get your domestic skills from, and then you'll get your cultural skills, up north. So I guess with my upbringing and what I went through in the school system in the early 70s, inspired me. I think it was just divinely inspired. I just hadn't tapped into it. Right. I remember my mother asking me one day, what did I want to do, or what did I want to be when I grew up? And I told her, I said, I want to be a spokesperson, or like Dr. Martin Luther King.
Right.
And she said that I said, I want to help the poor children. And see, as a child in the 70s, you know, we had made strides since the 60s. And, but, you know, racism was still very prominent. And I was subject to it when Mom moved us to a all-white neighborhood in Olmsted Falls, Ohio. And there I really was subjected to racism and the name calling. And that just fueled, you know, what God was preparing me for coming into my adult years. So that is what has motivated me to be an activist and an advocate today.
That's good.
And then you had asked about my son.
Yes.
My son is a scholar. He's a junior at WVU Tech this year. And I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed to be the parent of a thriving and striving young adult who, you know, made it through high school, who didn't fall prey to what our youth are, you know, falling prey to today. You know, the addiction, the drug addiction, the gangs, you know, the hype.
See, and when we say that, I mean, not to cut you off, but that's what I'm saying. I think, you know, and we talk about the racism, which was there. Nobody's saying it wasn't, okay?
Right.
But then also what you're saying now, the gangs and things, and now people that look like the same type of person fighting each other. And that's the thing, you know, and that which really kills. I mean, all of it's bad. Let's get it right. But that's why I said about the spiritual part, because of that reason. Because I know, because you know, you're, you know, a woman of God as well.
Yes.
So I mean, but I mean, I don't know how it links. You know what I mean? It links together.
It's all connected.
Because how did you get? Because that's why I was going to ask you about the Poor People's Campaign. That's what I knew.
So how I got started with the Poor People's Campaign, it was divinely, you know, I was divinely directed. You know, it just happened, and I met these people, and it was so intertwined on the same things that Barbra and I, you know, advocate for, and being a member of the NAACP and all of the morals and values that I believe in and stand for. So I found the Poor People's Campaign, and I was like, this is where I need to be, you know, because we advocate not to eradicate, but to abolish.
Exactly.
You know, we're not about eradicating, but to abolish poverty. You know, and the other in interlocking injustices such as systemic racism, the ecological devastation, you know, the social economic issues that we have, and so forth and so on. And I knew that's where I needed to be because my son was subjected to some racism right here in the school in which he went to. And so I had to advocate for him. So I just found that these, you know, everything was connected and intertwined. And I wanted to be, as I still do, the change that I wish to see.
You were just not going to be pushed around.
I was not. We won't be silent anymore. That's one of our mottos.
Absolutely.
And I've never been a person to be silent. You know, so.
And on another note, Mother Charles, not to stop you, but Mother Charles, I remember the integration of the schools back then, and I didn't know that you were a part of it, and that this is really amazing because I heard about it, and I'm like saying it was just a little small. It wasn't real big at the time, but it got big because somebody spoke out, and I'm so glad.
Right.
Well, see, what we have, I'm just going to really put this in and understand what was going on in the South was not going on in the North.
Right.
We got to understand that slavery, I just kept listening to, this is one time I was listening to Trump, when he said, make America great again. Make America great again. When was America great? As far as many were concerned was when we were slaves.
Right.
Free labor. But the North knew that we wasn't going to make it on cotton on the worldwide market. So the industry had to be bought into it because we were about money. And so they knew they needed the workers of the South. They were going to pay in the North But the South wanted to hold on to slavery because that was their
Right.
form of income and form of lifestyle and everything to them. We were their property. Do you know the number one issue in America that is more more constitutional than any other thing on the agenda for the Constitution of the United States is property rights? Over murder, over anything in this country is your right to own property. Your housing has more rights than anything that you have. If you get killed, everything else. I stopped the police from coming on my property because a guy ran through my property.
Oh, Lord.
And they were not in hot pursuit of him. And they were running across my property. And I said, if you come across my property, I'm going to sue you because my children are playing. In fact, they had the guns drawn. And this is in South Central LA.
Yes,
You will not go in my backyard. If you step foot in there, I'm going to sue you. My name was Barbra Sue then. I will sue you. And they stopped. You see, property rights. So you got to understand that this is about money.
Right.
And money is green. And I'm like one lady asked me at the park one day when we were giving out swimming tickets, and she was asking the NAACP, we're letting the NAACP children go in for free. And she said, "Are you only giving it to black children?" I said, "No, baby, we the NAACP, everybody got a color. You can get free tickets." No, there ain't no problem.
Right.
So we got to stop this. If you want to talk about something, let's talk about something green. Okay.
And I think that's what you've done. But I think that's what you've done. That's why I said, I think both of you. I think that's one of the things that caught my eyes, the fact of empowering a person.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Not empowering a black person, empowering a white, just empowering a person itself. That's because that's the thing. A lot of times we can't think we're all going to be in here in just one color. It doesn't work that way.
It don't work.
So we have to all mingle in together, get along, right? But the thing is, like we had talked about, but we have to make sure that we educate ourselves. And I think that's what's going on. And I'm glad, with the household I was raised in, we never really talked about black and white. I'm not saying it wasn't there. We just didn't talk about it. So it was never really on my mind like that. You know what I mean? But what was on my mind is them telling me and teaching me that I have to get these things for myself or learn them myself as well. Even if they, not trying to be funny, couldn't teach me those things. I mean, they could teach me, of course, the parenting type things, but some of the education type things maybe not, because they were going through that when they were younger. So I get that fact that they might not have been educated to the best of their ability, okay? But that doesn't mean we can't do it. And that's what I saw in YouTube doing it, going out in the community and uplifting in that way. Now, like I said, for activism and also the different things that you do, campaigns that you're on, that's great too. But that's what got me. I like that too. But I also like the fact of empowering people itself. I mean, really. I mean, yeah, empowering black people, but empowering people as well. Because people will come. I mean, we're in a different age. If we're in that age, it was, definitely it was segregation. This way, it's not. I mean, kids, all types of kids play together now. So to say that, I mean, I'm glad we're getting education on that, and that's great. But look how far we came. But now we have to integrate what? Integrate the reading, the writing, the math, and things like that to uplift the kids, the children, because that's another thing now. Because if you don't know how to read, how are you going to be able to? We're trying to start an initiative, not to plug it, but it's called TSK Lit Lab, Literature Lab. Where because it's integrated. It's not, what I mean by that is now we're using computers. Now we're using VR headsets in order to get them to definitely jumpstart them, into something different. Because, I mean, if you can't read it, it's going to be hard. I mean, look at, you're a well-versed lady. Look at how you talk. Look at how eloquent you talk. You know what I mean? Those things, had to be, you had to learn that from somewhere. You know what I mean? Really. I mean, and know how to act when you're around all these people you said, right? Yes. When like you said, I mean, like you said, the lawyer was tapping you, because you get, but that's the thing, but to have that self-control, right? Have that self-control, because you're in the room with, some people that, you know what I mean? And they're just waiting on you to pounce so they can cast you off. Exactly. Look as a crazy person or whatever. But that's the education that you've had as well. I mean, you have to understand. So I marvel at that as well. So I think,
See, the difference in there, even in literature, and it's trying to destroy books now. You don't destroy a book. You can't destroy it no way because it's up in the clouds. So what they're doing is fruitful. Right. Okay. But our children, we wanted to engage them. We wanted to engage them into reading, understanding what we did then. And many of the kids that I would talk to, when they would hear my story, especially what I said about the Black Panthers, even my own children in my house, you know, they knew, and they would say, Grandma was a militant? She carried a gun? What? You know, no, they would just go on and on. But you see, we had to come to an understanding of reading. They're reading more right now than ever in history. Young folks is on TikTok. I didn't even know what a TikTok was. I got introduced to the TikTok, and I said, what is a TikTok? They said, everything on TikTok. The family don't want to get kids on TikTok. Well, I got to know what a TikTok is so I can talk to a child about TikTok. Should you be on it? Should you not be on it? Parents was having, you don't get on TikTok. And TikTok was telling everything. Now TikTok ain't, every time you look at it, ain't nothing telling the story of back to the 1800s. Did you know this? You know, and kids are being educated every minute. You know, so we got to, as we got to be the instructors, because those kids are on those computers. Okay, we've got to teach and train and move on. We got to move fast because things are going on. But they're more computer savvy than we will ever be. Okay,
Absolutely.
they are putting it together, and they're putting it together quickly for us. And that's why I wanted that youth group, because, you know, this is my 10-year year, 7 years, time of completion. So that's when I stepped away. This is enough. It's time to get a young person in here on this Raleigh County NAACP to carry on so that they can train this youth group, and, you know, individuals by the collective can come on in. And I just told them today, I have 39 young men ready to go. You just weed them out because they need the big brothers. They need them, and they're looking for them because one of our brothers was taken away from here, and he had that group. So now who's gonna take him? And he's just sit down in my living room, and he said, "I know you, Mama Charles." I said, "You know me?" He said, "Yeah, I know you." I said, "Where do I know you from?" He said, "Quantes." Quantes Burke. He said, "I know what you did." And I was 39 brothers in that room all spoke at that homegoing. Okay? And they said, "We're going to grab your hand and we're going to do this and this and this." Well, he just came around with 39 brothers, and I'm turning them over. Some are collected. Let's put them together. Let's put them to work. Let's do something.
Well, Mr. Burton, I don't want to bring him up too high because it's about you today, but Mr. Burton, he is very valuable to us.
Yes, he is.
He's
That's
very,
yes.
I mean,
yes.
Very valuable to us, as well as Mrs. Beard. She's so sweet and beautiful as a person, and is bouncing off. You know what I'm saying? He's bouncing off because had he not had the opportunity that he has, maybe she wouldn't have the opportunity that she has.
Yes.
For me. So it's a great win-win-win-win.
Yes. And I want to expound. I didn't answer your question, Dom. You'd asked me a question about, you know, when you did the recovery segment and the 3 people that have died that succumbed to the addiction. So I have no anonymity when it comes to my personal story. I'm a person in long-term recovery.
Yes, ma'am.
And I see death on a weekly basis. Barbra has been in my presence almost every time when someone dear and near or someone I know from the recovery community or somebody, you know, succumbs to the disease of addiction by overdose. And so how that affects me is it fuels me, you know, because I heard the word empower. And that's why I'm so passionate about recovery and spreading the word and giving back, you know, what was so freely given me. You know, we say in the 12-step program, you can only keep what you have by giving it away. And so I want to give that away, that freedom that I got from, you know, the bondage of addiction, to let other people know there is a way out, you know, because everything is connected. I keep saying that, but poverty, you know, poverty leads
drug
to,
addiction go hand in hand.
It goes hand in hand. Poverty brings about mental health. We don't
Right.
talk enough about mental health.
Right.
It's not about black and white or Asian or anything. This is a we problem. This is a
Human problem.
It's a human problem.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm so passionate about recovery, in which, I still work in that because it's all connected.
Right.
And then, like I said, found the Poor People's Campaign, and it gives us a platform not just to be here in our community, but to go nationally, where we've gone quite a few times to DC, where I've been very honored to speak there and be an impacted person along the side of Reverend William Barbra, who is one of the co-chairs of the Poor People's Campaign, which the Poor People's Campaign actually started, like Ms. Charles said, in 1968 with the Southern Christian leaders and Dr. Martin Luther King. Unfortunately, he was assassinated, and then the program had ceased, which we don't call it a program or an organization. Bishop Barbra will tell you that we are a movement. Right. And so the Poor People's Campaign was resurrected in 2016, and then 2018 we had our actual first action, call to action, where you see us protest quite a bit. We are nonpartisan, so we're not political. We are all about policy and changing. And like I said, it's all connected. So my passion for recovery is to help these people become empowered, overcome their drug addiction, so that we can get back to the matter, what means most, and that is our youth.
That's right.
Because somebody needs to lead them.
You're right. And I think that's it's a key thing. But then, like Mother Charles was just saying about the 39 felons, they're not kids. See, and that's so there's a balance to where what about, because I don't know, when you see it, it's like when you're 18, it seems like just go that's how just go about your way. But where are you to go if you don't have no skills? Where are you to go if you don't know how to read? Where if you go if you don't even have any money to do it? But you're gonna go to the street, and then you know what the street gonna do, devour you, because that's what it does to everybody. No matter how many street rich stories you hear, that's what you hear. It doesn't end that way.
There's a thirst out there right now. They're looking for us. They're listening. They know. They know what's going on. But what I don't know who you are. I mean, I haven't heard from you. And
well, my name's Cynthia Beard. I was born and raised here in West Virginia. I just recently started with Don Key almost about a year ago. Okay. And Don just kind of asked me here and there and everywhere.
Jim just one day I said, hey, you want to come in here and do this and host this?
I'm going to be honest, I'm very honored to work for Don or whatever. My sister's husband, which passed, he had colon cancer. Him and Don were really good friends. And that's how I got to know Don. And I had just, I had run into you in a store or something, I think. Yeah. And I had asked him, because somebody else had told me about his company and all these strides in the community he was making. I was like, okay, this sounds like something I could definitely do. And I'll be honest, I'm 45 or whatever. I've been working since I was 16 years old. And this is the first time in my life that I've worked a job that I really feel like I'm giving back. I feel fulfilled. I feel whole. You know what I'm saying?
I heard you say that.
To be able to go home at night and knowing that you're making a difference in people's lives. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing. And then too, I think it's profound that you ladies came on here, because basically what you're telling young people or just people in general is that you take your pain and you turn it into passion. That's a form of alchemy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You take that hurt inside of you, instead of letting it manifest as something negative. You know what I'm saying? You take all that. What can I do to change my circumstances? What can I do to change my community? And it's people like y'all, because we see people like y'all on TV. But we're really not in the presence of people this great.
You're right.
People that great are here. They are in our community, and y'all are amazing, and y'all are an inspiration. To be doing this type of work.
As a host, you have to ask the hard questions.
Right.
See, we got to make it real. That's what we came up with. Make it real. Tell me so I know. We ain't sugarcoating nothing here. We're going to put it out and make it raw and do it like it is, because that's what's going to put you. You're in a spot now where we can make it really real through you.
Right.
The media is the most powerful medicine.
Yes.
Media
Absolutely.
is it. And so you have been put and given now, standing over with you.
Right.
You got to open that mouth up and you got to give us some questions and him and
Right.
the other ones out there. That,
And I think we'll have you back because I didn't know you had a show.
yeah,
You know.
I did my own TV show. Let's talk about it with Barbra Charles.
See, so
Okay.
I want you to come up and teach us because
What about your
there's a
book?
lot we need to know.
Yes.
What's your book? We'd love to know what your book is. And everyone check it out, read it, because I know it's a wealth of knowledge, information.
Well, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. I just formulated
Right.
2 days ago.
Okay, good.
Okay.
My son was gospel singer and around the country.
Wow.
Like I told you, KJLH was there in Los Angeles, Stevie Wonder Station, and my son at 17 sent his tape over to him.
Mhm.
We're gonna connect us
Well, that's good.
beyond
And then we'll talk about that as
this
well.
area. Yeah,
We'll talk about that
we'll
as
be
well.
on this area.
You got some
So-
things you want to read, and then, like I said, I want to thank you all for being here. I really do.
I-
It's been a blessing. It's not enough time. It's not enough time though, really, to go over all the things. We'll be back. We'll bring you back, man.
Yes,
When you,
yes,
you know,
yes. And I'll help in any way.
and you already
that I
have.
can.
You already have helped. I mean,
Yeah.
your inspiration, both you and Elaine, your inspiration
Yeah.
there in the community
Yeah, really are.
has helped me. Strive. To do more and do better,
Okay.
and help others as well.
Okay.
All right. So
Well,
I really
anything
appreciate
I
that.
can do, I'm here, and I already have asked God over and over and over again for this right here, a communication tie line.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But if you want to make a difference in the community, these ladies are the blueprint.
There you go. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Thank you. Thank you so very
Oh,
much.
you're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
We're just so blessed to have you here. But we want to thank you guys for joining today's Collective Conversations. We want a special thanks to Ms. Barbra L. Charles for sharing her story, her passion, and her legacy of service. Also, thank you, Elaine Hurley, Donald Burton, Elder McCrae, and a reminder that the Summit Collective offers year-round programs, including the Root and the Vine, the Lit Lab Go, Elevate You, Collective Foundations. Learn more and get involved at www.thesummitcollective.org. Until next time, guys, stay encouraged, stay connected, and keep these conversations going. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.